So we're going to wrap this up for you, but we really want your help in wrapping it up as well. And I guess I should introduce my two co-people up here. So this is Richard Gerrard. He's the Director of Business Development and Marketing at Ruck. And Karolina, and I know I'm going to butcher it.
It's right.
Šilingienė?
No.
Close. Šilingienė?
No, it's like shilling.
Šilingienė. I forgot to ask her in advance how to say her name. Business Development and Marketing Manager at, I'm going to get your firm name wrong too.
It's right.
Sorainen?
Sorainen, yeah.
I got that close enough. So we have been taking feverish notes. I've been tweeting my brains out all day, and we wanted to try to capture some of this really amazing information. And so I'm going to pose the first question to the two of you is of everything you heard today, was there something that popped out in that, what Oprah Winfrey would call an aha moment? Something that just really struck you?
Yeah, I'm going to stop phoning Adrian because I'll never get through. The thing that popped out for me was when Tim de Boer was talking about building an effective culture of marketing in a law firm. Ours is a relatively small firm with partners that are extremely busy, making a lot of money. Some of them need to get out there. Some of them have fantastic networks. And he said, give them the choice of the area that they're interested in and ask them how they could build a community around themselves in that area and support that. Now, for a small niche practice, without the scale of marketing operation to be able to dig down into the dynamics of every sector that we work in, perhaps without the investment to be able to build on, to acquire technology that's going to be able to map everyone in our CRM system and tell us who else they know, to get the partners thinking in that very simple, practical way, that was invaluable. So I've definitely taken that one away. That's a really nice, simple question to put to partners to get them out and about.
How about you, Karolina?
Well, I met that many people today, and I've heard that many wonderful conversations and wonderful speeches. And the last panel kind of made this feeling, this elephant in the room, so the time and the energy that we're investing in our daily jobs, it's not worth it. But honestly, I think... Firstly, I wanted to appreciate for you just like staying till the end. and the other thing, I wanted to appreciate each and every one of you because the jobs that we're doing, they're tough. And we're human orchestras. And I met someone who's like alone in a business development and marketing team. Or, for example, there are some who work in huge teams and they have to juggle the things. And sometimes with working with partners, you have to address the most squeaky wheel and you have to drop whatever you're doing. If someone's complaining, you have to just like extinguish that fire. So the jobs that we're doing, they're really tough. And like really, I'm proud of what my team is doing and I'm really proud of what you're doing. And just to have this opportunity to hear that those issues that I'm having back home, it's like we all do have them, and it's really wonderful to have such a platform to exchange these things and to double check on things like how important a helicopter view is, or this allegory with hotels and nights not sold. It's the same with billable hours, like you wasted those hours and so on. So there were so many good references and so many good insights that I just wanted to have this moment and appreciate each and every one of you and each and every one of us what we're doing, because it's a tough job.
What about all of you? Was there any moments throughout the day that you just said, wow, that's really struck a chord with me, or that was something I didn't know? No? Okay, well, read my tweets and you'll remember what you... What about things that you might do differently when you go back to the office? You want to start with that one?
Yeah, I thought about this question, and it's a stupid answer, but I will not do anything differently. Because lawyers and partners, they're used to doing things in short term. They're thinking a little bit ahead. They're thinking about a project. They're thinking about a case. Let's even think how they share profits. Usually they share it annually. So they're really short term oriented. And us, we're selling something what is intangible. And selling intangible service, it's a really tough job, and it takes time, it takes strategic planning and thinking not on a yearly basis, but thinking on 3 or 5 year basis. So if we go home after this conference and we start shifting things and start doing new things, then I'm not sure if those strategic thinking and planning further would really like be the direction that we're taking. So I'd recommend you continue doing what you're doing, but have this moment to refresh and think that, I might have forgotten this thing, or I might improve on this particular field.
See, I have the advantage on Karolina here that I'm in the middle of a planning process, so I can go back to my partners and say, actually, I heard some very interesting things at a conference with people from all over Europe. I can remind some of them that need reminding of it that our relationship with Europe is extremely important to us and we learn from it. And the other thing that I can do, it seems to me, is to tell them that some business development directors talk, for example, a great deal about the mechanics of measuring profitability and translate that into insights about pricing. I think that would be a very useful conversation that I could be having in the planning process. So I fully agree with what you've said. I think it would be like-minded for anybody to go home and start moving wheels that have been carefully lined up with other wheels. But definitely, the thought processes that we're all engaged in can be changed by this, and the conversations can be enriched as well.
Just by a show of hands, how many of you have something that you might go back and try to do or think about differently that you hadn't thought about before today? Okay, so those of you that raised your hand, which is almost everybody, will any of you share one or two of those with us? Somebody? Anybody? You guys want drinks?
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe one which I found really interesting is thinking about profitability and thinking about what, as a business development people, we can bring into the business, and being on this commercial side every day and being with the clients. Yeah. That's what I think will be kind of a major change in the future. It's not only kind of marketing thinking, but also business
thinking.
And it's connected with pricing as well.
Yes.
This I found really helpful.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I'm just going back to what Anton mentioned this morning about the fact that they've broken down their audience as 5,000 people. And actually the concept of account-based business development, which we kind of all know in reality, but actually working through the process is saying, well, our audience is, if Deloitte's is 5,000, realistically our audience is perhaps 3,000. And how do we then bespoke all the myriad of marketing campaigns and activity that we undertake as a global firm into focus on those accounts that are actually going to sustain, build and future-proof the firm.
Well, and I aligned with that. I think that for me, I realized what a challenge all of us have to think about that term of mass customization, which is kind of an oxymoron, but it is what we have to figure out a way to do. And that's where I think it draws everything we heard today together, because you have to use technology to enable that, and you have to have the statistics and the data to know who your audience is, and you have to have the buy-in from your firm. So it really does draw it all together.
And one more thing, there was a couple of speakers mentioned, and some were really proud of having a degree in law. Like, please do not overestimate that. You don't have to speak legal language. I have a master's degree in law, and trust me, I'm not using those Latin phrases at all. Once in a while I can make fun of them and put this inter alia or ad hoc or mutatis mutandis even, but it doesn't help you. What the lawyers talk and the legal language is the language of value and argumentation. So if you have something which you believe will change, just before going to a lawyer, have these 3 seconds. I think someone said it last year. Yep. You have to double check and consider all the possible questions, all the possible doubts that lawyers would have, because they like to negotiate and they like to argue just for the sake of argument. So before going and presenting something, just run it over again and think what would the lawyers like to brag about and what would they like to ask. And then think of those values and benefits that such initiative would create. And you'd have a package then.
I think that's very true. And I think one of the points to remember about the lawyers that we're working with every day is they're very proud to be lawyers. They're very proud of their profession. They're proud of all of the work that went into it. And they're proud of the testament to their intellect and their resilience and their commerciality that career actually involves. We should be too. We're marketers. Okay? We are marketers. We are representatives of an extremely important profession which adds value to every business on the planet. We understand markets, we understand clients, we understand the pricing mechanisms, we understand how to launch a product or a service, how to measure its efficacy, how to adjust it. We understand the role of brand in all of that. We understand the process which develops between brand awareness right the way through to a sale and delivering on that sale and feeding back into the business on all of the rich lessons of that. Why on earth do marketers sort of creep around in the presence of lawyers as if they're in the, they're dealing with their intellectual and moral superiors, when in fact we are as fundamental to the success of the business as any of the rest of them?
Here.
Praise marketers!
I will tell you, in the U.S., there's a blog for legal marketers in the U.S., and this was actually in some of the business publications in the U.S., there was this huge appropriate brouhaha this year because we continue to be called non-lawyers in the United States. We're not called marketing professionals, business development professionals, but in many firms we're known as non-lawyers.
Or staff.
Can you imagine?
Or staff.
Staff isn't even, it's support staff. I mean, yeah.
Like
I don't mind that. I mean, that's maybe not a good depiction, but it's not as bad as being a non-something. Could you imagine? I'm a non-doctor. I'm a non-accountant.
You're not a fee earner. Remember that.
Right, yeah. Well,
that's fine.
But I totally agree with both of our speakers on that, and so I think we're going to have to do a toast to that when we go out to drinks.
Absolutely.
Last comments from anybody or either of our co-panelists here?
I think we had lots of those already.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so very much for joining us again this year. It was a fantastic program. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to the staff that put all of this together. So here. We'll see you next year.